With the competitive balance in the NBA better than years past, no teams this season has had more than 2 All-Stars. With 4 to 5 teams having a legitimate shot at winning the 2020 championship, it's most likely the future NBA champions will have to go through at least a few 6 or 7 game series to win it all. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Over the course of NBA history, a bunch of so-called super teams with 4 stars didn't always pan out. The 2004 Lakers were upsetted by the Pistons, but Peyton and Malone were much older and no longer All-Stars, while the Miami Heat Big Three with James Wade and Bosh only had 3 stars filled with average role players. Today, we'll take a look at every team in NBA history with 4 All-Stars the same season. Most people think having 4 All-Stars pretty much guarantees a championship, and those teams should be the favorites, but that's not always the case. Let's get started. The 1962 Lakers, since Rudy LaRusso was injured and didn't play in the All-Star game, 3 of the 4 Lakers played: Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Frank Sylvie. While the Lakers had by far the best record in the West, going 54-26, led by the legendary duo of Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, the 27-year-old Baylor only played 48 games, not because of injury, but because he was an Army reservist who got called to duty during the season. Nonetheless, Baylor had one of the most sensational seasons all time, averaged over 38 points, 18 rebounds, 4.5 assists. His point average would have been the 4th highest in NBA history, only behind Wilt, overshadowed by Wilt's 50-point average that season and Oscar Robertson averaging a triple-double. Jerry West averaged 31 points, 8 rebounds, 5.5 assists. Both were 2 of the 5 best players in the league. Averaged over 69 points combined. LaRusso was the 2nd best player, put up 17 and 10, while replacement Sylvie had a golden opportunity to win Game 7 of the finals at the buzzer, missed the jumper, Game 1 to overtime, losing to a Celtics team with 4 actual All-Stars. Led by MVP Bill Russell, All-Star point guard Bob Cousy, Tom Heinsohn, and Sam Jones, going 60 and 20 in the regular season. The first ever team with 4 official All-Stars. Power forward Heinsohn was the team's leading scorer, averaged 22, 9.5 rebounds. Russell 19 points, 24 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and a ton of block shots, which wasn't a stat back then. Shooting guard Jones averaged 18.5 points. The 33-year-old Cousy averaged almost 16 and 8. 6 total teams got into playoffs that year, with the best teams in the conference not having to play a divisional semis. Boston took care of Wilt Chamberlain's Warriors in a grueling 7-game series. Wilt put up 34 and 27, Russell 22 and 25. In the finals, with the series tied at 2, Baylor had one of the most incredible performances, dropped an NBA Finals record, 61 points, also had 22 rebounds. Before there was Kobe or Michael or Dr. J, Baylor's 6'5" frame with his agility and skill stunned everybody, but the Celtics were just too much. Led by the sensational Bill Russell's 30-point, 40-rebound performance in Game 7 in a 110-107 overtime win, the team with 4 true All-Stars that season came out on top. The 1968 San Francisco Warriors originally had 3 All-Stars: Nate Thurman, Rudy LaRusso, and Jim King, but Thurman was hurt, replaced by his teammate Clyde Lee. In the All-Star game, many wouldn't consider this team having 4 legit All-Stars. Lee would have never made an All-Star team if it wasn't for Thurman's injury. The team finished 43 and 39 overall, beat the St. Louis Hawks in the division semis, but swept by the Lakers in the division finals, likely the worst team with 4 All-Stars on the same roster. The 1975 Celtics, the franchise won 2 championships in the 70s, but 75 wasn't one of them. They won it the year before and after 75. The team had center Dave Cowens, JoJo White at the point, an 18-point scorer. The electrifying John Havlicek at 34 and 35 years old averaged 19, 6 and 5, alongside 31-year-old Paul Silas, averaged almost 11 and 13 as the power forward. Led by coach Tommy Heinsohn, the team finished with 60 wins, tied with the league's best record alongside the Washington Bullets, with Boston being the favorites against a Bullets team with 3 All-Stars: Elvin Hayes, Wes Unseld, and Phil Chenier. Washington won the first 2 games, led 3 games to 1, closed out Game 6. Cowens, Havlicek, and Silas struggled, all shot under 40% for the series, White at just 40%. Hayes and Chenier both averaged around 25 points. The Bullets were so overconfident after beating Boston, they were heavily upsetted and swept by the Golden State Warriors in the finals with 1 All-Star, led by Rick Barry. Boston did win the title the following season, where Silas didn't make the All-Star team. The 1983 Philadelphia 76ers, one of the most dominating teams in NBA history, Dr. G's squad never got over the hump before Moses Malone's arrival, falling to the Lakers in the 80 and 82 finals, losing to Boston in the 81 conference finals. After trading for Caldwell Jones in the pick, the Sixers were the most complete team, led by the MVP, averaged 24.5 points, over 15 rebounds, snatched almost 6 offensive boards a game. The Doctor, 21.5 points, 7 rebounds, almost 2 steals and 2 blocks. 25-year-old Andrew Toney, almost 20 points, and Maurice Cheeks ran the point, averaged 12.5 points, 7 assists, over 2 steals. All 4 shot over 50% from the field the whole season. Not to mention 6th man, the relentless Bobby Jones. The team coached by Billy Cunningham won a league best 65 games. Matter of fact, Cheeks, Irving, and Malone all started in the All-Star game. The other 2 starters, Isaiah Thomas and Larry Bird. Irving won All-Star game MVP. Malone easily won regular season MVP. The confident 6'10" center was the best player in the game at the time, obliterated teams in the postseason, clicked on all cylinders. With almost perfect chemistry, nobody was more confident than Moses himself, who stated the legendary phrase full, meaning his team would go undefeated and not lose a single playoff game. In the first round against the Knicks, he backed it up by averaging over 31 points, 15.5 rebounds. Milwaukee was the next victim. The Big Four averaged a combined 79 points for the series. Although Philly did drop Game 4, they continued to build momentum against Magic and Kareem's Lakers. There was never a doubt who was going to come out on top. Philly easily won the first 2 at home. Malone would not be stopped, outplayed Jabbar in the series. Interestingly enough, the Sixers trailed at halftime every one of those 4 games, but absolutely dominated and destroyed the Lakers in the second half. Philly's defensive press was too much for LA to overcome, one of the most historic single season runs all time. The 1998 Lakers, before Phil Jackson was head coach, the Lakers were loaded. After acquiring Shaq in summer of '96, led by head coach Del Harris, the team was viewed as contenders, won 61 games, tied for second in the conference, led by Shaq's 28-11, 26-year-old Eddie Jones, 17 points, 2 steals, 26-year-old Nick Van Exel, a 14-7 guy, and 19-year-old Kobe Bryant, who came off the bench, averaged over 15 a game in just 26 minutes. Kobe was so popular, he was named the starter in the All-Star game and put on an absolute show. Went toe-to-toe with the best in Michael Jordan, showcased his athleticism and bags of tricks, scored 18 points in 22 minutes. Jordan got MVP with 23, 2 of the most competitive players all time. As for the playoffs, LA knocked off Portland in round 1, 3-1, led by O'Neal's 29-12, knocked off a 61-win Sonics team in 5, made it to the conference finals only to get swept by Malone and Stockton's Jazz. Shaq averaged 32 that series, but nobody else averaged more than 15. Kobe didn't play much because of Coach Harris. Even Shaq took to Instagram explaining the team with more All-Stars isn't always the better team. The Jazz were a great team. For the people who talks about the weak finals competition the Bulls faced, a false narrative. After the season, Van Exel was traded to Denver for Tony Petit and Tyronn Lue. Jones was sent to the Hornets with Eldon Campbell for B.J. Armstrong, J.R. Reed, and Glenn Rice, only because Jerry West needed Kobe to start. LA ended up three-peating once Phil Jackson took over. The 2006 Detroit Pistons, led by the backcourt of Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, and the front line of Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace, after making 2 finals, winning it all in 04, the team's chemistry was at an all-time high. Head coach Larry Brown stupidly took the Knicks job, replaced by Flip Saunders, who was more offensive-minded. The team was on fire to start the season, jumped out to a 37-5 start on the exact pace at the halfway mark for chasing the 96 Bulls, let alone not having any superstars on the team. The franchise's most successful regular season, winning a league best 64 games. Tayshaun Prince averaged 14 a game, made all defensive second team, but didn't make the All-Star team. During the game, when the East was getting blown out, all 4 were on the floor at the same time, led a comeback. There were even chatters for Chauncey Billups for MVP. Big Ben won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. Him and Billups made All-NBA second team. It seemed like the team was destined for another title, but there were reports that Rasheed Wallace walked away from Flip Saunders, won the huddles at times, and that Ben was furious he wasn't getting the touches on offense under Saunders' system the way he did with Brown. The coaching staff and the players weren't on the same page. After losing to Miami in the conference finals in 6, Big Ben joined the Bulls in free agency for more money. The Pistons franchise still hasn't won a playoff game after the Chauncey Billups trade in 2008. The 2011 Boston Celtics, led by Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and 24-year-old Rondo. The original Big Three were all in their mid-30s and aging. While Rondo was becoming one of the best point guards in the league, the team finished with 56 wins, good for third in the conference, but traded Kendrick Perkins mid-season for Jeff Green, Nene Kristic, and other assets, a debatable and unpopular choice at the time. Perk was one of the X factors of the team, did all the little things at the 5. The team struggled for the remainder of the season, started to play more selfishly. After sweeping the Knicks in round 1, they were forced to play Miami in the semis. Shaq was on his last legs. Combined with injuries, Rondo dislocated his elbow in game 3, fighting for a loose ball with D Wade. It was clear Rondo wasn't 100% for game 4, losing in overtime after KG's 28 and 18 in the game 3 win. Shot an awful 1 of 10 in game 4. Rondo again was limited in game 5. Boston lost to Miami in 5. Wade averaged over 30 points for the series, James 28. The 2015 Atlanta Hawks, perhaps the most forgotten team with 4 All-Stars, the team went undefeated in the month of January. Started 40 and 8 overall before cooling off. Led by Coach Butt's offense, there were no superstars, but everybody had a role. Jeff Teague and Kyle Korver, their only All-Star appearance, with the front court of Paul Millsap and Al Horford, won a franchise best 60 games, but not many viewed them as serious contenders. Nobody averaged more than 17 on the team. DeMarre Carroll was the other starter, averaged more points than Korver, who was an injured replacement for D Wade. A big turnaround from 38 wins the season before with the same exact guys. After a 6-game series win over the Nets and Wizards, the team was no match for LeBron James, who absolutely destroyed them in the conference finals, sweeping the Hawks, leaving a disappointing ending to an amazing regular season. The 2017 Warriors. After Durant's decision on the 4th of July, many knew the season was already a wrap. Although the team didn't win 73 games or even 70, 67 was good enough, where none of the starters averaged more than 34 minutes. Curry and Durant put up over 25, Clay over 22, Draymond 10, 8, and 7 with 2 steals. Only Clay was left out the All-NBA team. Draymond won Defensive Player of the Year, while KD and Steph both were top 3 players. Simply wasn't fair. Although Durant had a knee injury, missed over 4 weeks of the regular season, came back before the playoffs, swept the Blazers, Jazz, and Spurs in the West, not to mention Kawhi's injury in Game 1 cost San Antonio that game. Golden State was the heavy favorite even if Leonard was healthy. Went on to convincingly beat the Cavs in 5. Durant averaged over 35 in the finals on 56, 45, 93 shooting splits. The 2018 Warriors once again had 4 All-Stars, all were in their prime. Just wasn't fair. Curry and Durant led the way, both averaged 26.4 points, Thompson 20, Draymond 11, 8, and 7, led the team in assists. For a 58-win team that got bored a lot of times in the regular season and didn't play hard every night, but easily beat San Antonio and New Orleans in the first 2 rounds. Houston gave them a run for their money. Before the CP3 injury, Golden State was just too much. Winning both Games 6 and 7 convincingly, swept the Cavs in the finals. The 2017 Warriors were the better team. Since they only lost 1 playoff game, the 2018 team lost 5. 11 total teams have 4 All-Stars, but the 68 Warriors had a replacement due to an injured teammate. The 62 Lakers have 1 injured player that couldn't play in the All-Star game. Only 4 of these 11 teams won a title. 5 others lost in the conference finals, while the 2011 Celtics lost in the semis, which just goes to show because the team has a lot of All-Stars, it doesn't mean they'll win it all. Unless they have 2 of the top 5 players in the game, just like Durant and Curry, Moses and Dr. J. Thank you so much for watching this video. More great stuff coming soon. See you next time.